All right, good evening. Hey, I'm here tonight to recap the incident from this afternoon, to tell you what we've learned since this afternoon and kind of fill in some of the holes, not all of them, but some of the holes around this incident. But just a brief recap. Excuse me, as Director Bruno told you, we were in the area of 103rd and Old Middleburg today, following up on two bank robberies that had occurred at the Wells Fargo and at the Atlantic Coast Federal Credit Union in the area. We got to that area from tips from citizens based on information we had put out in the community through the news media and through Facebook. Got lots of tips to identify this potential robbery suspect. That's what led us to this area. While the officers were in the area, again, looking for the suspect following up on these tips, some patrol officers, a patrol sergeant, and a K-9 officer actually found the individual in the area. As they approached the individual, he exited a car that he had been using to do the robberies and got into a small silver vehicle. When he got into that small silver vehicle, there was a white female driving the vehicle. I know there were questions about her this afternoon. We have yet to determine her involvement, if any, in this case right now. We're still working on that. However, they did lead the officers on a high-speed pursuit in the area, again, of Old Middleburg and 103rd Street. As the pursuit initiated, the suspect, based on witness information, was leaning out the back windows, either side, back and forth, firing at the officers during the pursuit. The officers fired back a couple times during the pursuit as well, and it appears at this point that Officer Mason, Jeremy Mason, was shot during the pursuit. However, he continued to pursue the vehicle to its termination point. As the pursuit continued, they ran a stop sign. The suspect vehicle ran a stop sign at the Middleburg and Buttercup Road intersections. It was struck by a vehicle, a civilian passenger vehicle, struck them as they ran the stop sign, which caused the crash at the termination point of the pursuit. As the officer stopped, the suspect got out of the vehicle. Again, officers commanded him to stop and drop his weapon. He did not. He fired again at officers at the scene, excuse me, and two officers fired back at him, striking him and killing him at the scene. One of those officers was K-9 Officer Jeremy Mason, again, who was struck by gunfire during the pursuit. The second officer was Detective Brad Hurst, who was just in the area. He's assigned to our offender tracking unit. He was in the area following up on a sexual offender predator notification, heard the incident brewing on the radio and got involved that way to help. So those are the two officers that are involved in the shooting. Jeremy Mason is a 11-year veteran, and this is his first officer-involved shooting. And Brad Hurst is a 10-year veteran. He's a detective, again, assigned to offender tracking. This is also his first officer-involved shooting. The suspect I can identify for you tonight as a Michael Joseph Harris. He is a white male, 28 years old. He is a 3-time convicted felon. And obviously we were going to give you the packets, criminal history packets and that type of information for you tonight when you leave. So with that, again, that's a basic recap. I think I filled in on some of the information that Director Bruno did not know this afternoon, and with that, I'd be glad to answer a couple of questions.
Sheriff Williams, how is Officer Mason?
So he is stable at this point, but he's got a long road back. He's got a lot of work to do coming back, but he's got a great support system in place. And let me say just a couple things. So we talk a lot about these men and women here at JSO that put their lives on the line every single day. It's not a tagline. It's not a slogan. This is an example of that. I mean, here you have an officer who's shot during a pursuit. He continues that pursuit, so he puts himself between the suspect, who's an incredibly violent felon, and the community, and ultimately winds up taking that suspect, taking him down, stopping him from, again, endangering the entire community, out there on the west side. So, my hat's off to both of these officers involved. But everybody involved today did a fantastic job. Supervision was good at the scene. The response of all the officers was good at the scene. So again, can't say enough about the response of the officers and the way they handled the situation. But he will, I tell you, he's very strong-willed, and he'll come back to work, being a very strong-minded young man, and he'll be back. So, and we're looking forward to it. Go ahead.
Sheriff Williams, the bullets that struck the officer's vehicle, can you confirm that the suspect's bullets was the one that hit the officer and the chief?
Well, he would be the only one shooting back at the officers, so ballistically, we have not confirmed that yet, but yes. I'll tell you that with, great confidence that it is his round that struck Officer Mason. If you look at the pictures, some of those in that windshield are Officer Mason's rounds coming out at the suspect. There are 4 distinct rounds in there that we can point out to you at some point. The gunfire coming into the vehicle. One of those struck Officer Mason in the chin. I think Director Bruno talked about that this afternoon. There was another round in the headrest of the driver's seat. So again, inches away, either way, 2 separate rounds, we'd be having a different conversation right now. So.
Sure, I know the police report released earlier today, there was in the narrative, it talked a little about the suspect and when he attempted to rob this bank earlier today. Some of what he said to the teller, it painted sort of a desperate picture of who he was, sort of apologizing to the teller, saying, "I'm sorry to do this," that sort of thing. Can you comment on that at all?
I can't comment on that, but I'll tell you this. There's no level of desperation that justifies you, attacking a police officer. Here you've got a guy who's a 3-time convicted felon. He's no stranger to what he's doing. He understands exactly what he's doing. Gets involved in a pursuit with police officers, and at any given time, all he had to do was give up. All he had to do was surrender. He chose not to do that. He chose to fight with the officers. He chose to attempt to take an officer's life. I really, at this point, no sympathy for any level of desperation he had. Again, at any point, all he had to do was stop, and he'd have been taken into custody.
She's no suspect. Is she in custody today?
So she is not a suspect at this point. She is here again being interviewed, and we do not know her level of involvement. She may or may not be an additional victim in this episode today, as far as we know. So we're still trying to sort that out.
Sheriff, if any of the officers involved, do we know if they were wearing body cameras as part of the pilot program, or also is there dash cam video available from the officer's car during this chase?
So nobody directly involved was wearing a body camera. I don't know if anybody in the peripheral was. My guess is no at this point, but we'll double check that for you, make sure. And no dash cams involved in this incident. So.
The Atlantic Federal robbery, bank robbery, when did that happen? Was it today?
So that was today.
Okay.
That was today, and Wells Fargo was yesterday.
Is there a reason why we weren't alerted?
Yeah, you were, absolutely, yeah. Lots of information went out.
Our email wasn't working, so some of the ears weren't going out? Okay.
And really what got us in the area today was the fact that we put information out through the media and social media. That's what got the officers to that area of Old Middleburg and Buttercup today, is tips from the community. I have, yes, yeah.
I know you said that officers put their life on the line every single day. What does this do to you personally? Letting your vet, 10-year vet,
Sure.
having to discharge the gun for the first time. This is not only physical scars, it can be mental as well. Can you just speak on that?
We try to do a lot, and we need to do more in terms of officer wellness and that type of thing. And clearly, physically, Jeremy's got a road to come back. We've had many officers around here that have been involved in officer-involved shootings. Some have been struck, obviously, by gunfire, and that's kind of a different path back. So we'll do the best we can for him to make sure he gets the support he needs to get back. Again, very strong-willed and strong-minded young man, and he can definitely come back and work his way back. But that's something that really is an issue for law enforcement nationwide, is how do we take care of our officers. Here again, this is what they do for the community every single day. So they would take this with them for the rest of their life. So how much is that worth to the community to have, men and women like this that again, do this day in and day out, every single day, and it's not, this is their reality. Again, not a tagline, not a slogan. This is the reality that their family lives with. This is the reality that they live with every single day. And everybody that you see wearing this uniform recognizes that and accepts it, readily accepts it every single day. So, thank a police officer tomorrow when you see him.
Sheriff Williams, do we know if the K-9, was the dog ever involved during the chase at all?
He was not, and he was not injured during the gunfire exchange at all either. So.
Any other questions? Thanks, Sheriff.
All right, good. Thank y'all.